Hey guys, thank you for tuning in again. This is day 3 of my flexibility journey, and today I'm gonna take you through my very basic routine that I did from the very start when I was really inflexible, couldn't even touch my toes. And I did this very routine all the way up to the splits. And it took me maybe half a year or something when I started this routine. I still think to this very day it's a pretty good thought out routine that is probably also gonna work for you very well. Okay, let's get started. So I get into frame. Here I always start with my hamstrings. Not with my hamstrings, my hip flexors, sorry. Okay, so everybody's seen this stretch before probably, right? Here what I first try to do, I interlock my hands like so, put it here on top of my knee, and then do this little movement here. In Japanese you would call it kokizami. So in this video I'm gonna call it kokizami as well, right? So I do this little movement here, kokizami, and then hold with one hand on my knee like this and try to open up my hip like so, okay? Okay, then let's do the other side as well. Again, interlock my hands like this, right? Do this little movement, the kokizami. Then push on my leg like this. Actually push out my leg with that hand a little bit. And then move to this side and open up. Okay, so that is the first exercise. Then we stay with the hip flexors. I do in total 3 to 5 hip flexor mobility exercises. Everybody probably has seen this stretch before. Here's the same thing. I'm trying to be as straight as possible. Sometimes I would even throw my hands back like this, right? And then once I get that going, I do a little bit of kokizami like this as well, right? The little movement. Remember, I play around with the position a little bit. Maybe I would put a hand down like this. Maybe I would go to the front a little bit like this, then I go back into this position, and so on and so forth. You gotta feel it out. It's a feel out process. So we do the other side as well. We go here, right? So we do this, right? Put your hands down like this again. Try to get it a little bit deeper. And then go back. Play around it with it a little bit. And then go back here. By the way, a quick explanation when it comes to stretching duration. How long should I stretch? This is a very, very big question in the community, and to be honest, the answer is pretty easy. There's no such thing as the perfect duration. It heavily depends on the individual. So you may be a 30 seconds kind of guy. That's most people. I think most people do 30 seconds because everybody says it's the best number, scientifically this and that. I remember when I first started stretching, it heavily depended on how difficult the stretch was. Sometimes I wasn't able to do 30 seconds. I tried to do 30 seconds, but sometimes I ended up 15, 20 seconds. And to this very day, sometimes I do a minute, sometimes I do 30 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever may be the case, whatever makes me feel the best at this moment. Okay, so the next exercise will be this one. I don't actually know how to call this one. This is a little bit of a difficult one, but then again, take it at your own pace. You don't necessarily have to do this. If you can only grab the foot like this, or if you can only lift it up, that's also totally fine. Don't even worry about it. Don't even sweat it. Go at your own pace. Again, I have about 90 degrees here, right? Go down like this, grab the foot like this, if you can. If you can and you have it like that, that's totally fine as well. Okay, perfect. And now we go into the last hip flexor exercise. It's gonna be this one, right? This one you've seen before, I think that's called a pigeon. And again, the same thing. I try to be as straight as possible, do a little bit of kokizami. I'm exaggerating it a little bit so you can see it if I can. Like this. I'm a little bit out of breath here. This is the third take. My apologies. But yeah, I try to be as straight as possible. I put my hands on my feet. I find that to be very comfortable, and then I put my other hand on my leg like so. Then the second step is this one, right? I go into this stretch, right? Again, if you can only lift it up, it's fine. If you can only do that, it's fine too. And I go to the front like this. Sometimes I put my hands completely down. Sometimes I only go on my elbows. Again, it's a feel-out process. So let's do the other side as well. Continuously becoming more and more out of breath. Next time I'm going to try to take it in one take. Still an amateur, so my apologies. Okay, try to be as straight as possible again. Grab your leg like this. Obviously there's levels to it. Remember, this is also fine, this is fine. And then go to the front like this. Lean down. And get a really nice stretch here as well. So before we go on, we are done with the hip flexors, but the hip flexors alone are not enough, I feel. Let's take the front side of our legs as well, and I have two stretches for that too. Tuck your leg in like this. Make sure your foot is not in this position, but tucked in. Otherwise you put some bad pressure on your knees and lean back like so. And in this position, it's also very important to notice that this is not so much like a holding stretch, it's more like a release into it stretch. So I could even be in this stretch for like a minute if I have to. So take your time in the stretch. The looser the front side of your leg is, the better you will eventually get down into these deep hamstring stretches or even side splits and front splits. Okay. It's a little bit hard to get out of, especially when you're as exhausted as I am. Here, same thing. Get a really nice stretch on your legs, like so. This time I'm not gonna hold it for as long. But yeah, really good stretch. Then here again, the last one for the front side of our legs. We're in this position. Your heels are kind of jamming up into the side of your butt. And that's, for me, the perfect position. And then, depending on your flexibility level, you move back. You can maybe go down on your elbows, or you can lay all the way flat on the ground, just like so. Also, a very relaxing position once you've unlocked it for yourself, but even on your elbows, or all the way on your hands, it's pretty comfortable to be in my opinion at least. So then again, because it's not so much of a holding position, I recommend to do it as long as it feels comfortable for you. Okay, now that we have the front side of our legs out of the way and our hip flexors out of the way, we can go to the back side. That way also we minimize the risk of getting injured, because mostly it's hamstrings that get injured. So, okay, so the next one that I'm doing is this standing hamstring stretch, like so. You've seen this before. I actually don't know how to call this, okay? So I go down like this, go down my legs, little by little, step by step, okay? And get a really nice stretch in. Sometimes I would just go to this from side to side like so. And once you've attained a really deep position in the stretch, you go to the side like this, right? And to the other side like this. Sometimes you go from side to side, sometimes you just hold it at the side. And don't ask me why, but when you're in this position, right? Transitioning from this position into a side lunge is very comfortable for me to do. So now you're in a side lunge, hold this position, relax into this position as well. Sometimes you can go up on your toes and then drop back into this position. You will notice that your stretch became a lot deeper. Okay, so let's go to the other side as well. We in here, we go up on our toes like this. If you can, if you can't, that's fine. I didn't do that from the beginning either, but these things I discovered now get your stretches even deeper. Okay, and then after that, I would go into this position one more time, right? Stretch here, go from side to side, and then go into a different type of side lunge. This side lunge, I think it's called the tiger stance. And this is kind of a strength exercise as well. It gets your crotch muscles really strong, right? I hold this for as long as I can, or I did hold it for as long as I can. So I basically improve strength between my legs, and that's also gonna get you more flexible in the long run. Okay, we only have one more exercise to go. So in the beginning, sorry for that, I only trained for basic hamstring flexibility and my side splits. So one exercise to go. And I think this exercise is by far the most important exercise. The powerful pancakes. Yes, it just, slipped my mind there for a second because it's the third take. Very exhausted at this point, but obviously a lot of fun. So pancakes, there's a couple of things that I have to explain here. Obviously the aim is to go all the way forward like this until you're basically attached to the ground like this, right? That's basically the aim, right? But of course, if you're a beginner, you won't get to this point right away. So what I suggest you doing is, I suggest you to use water bottles. Yes, everybody who's watched my other videos probably knows by this point that I really like water bottles. So you put them underneath your legs like this, so it's elevated, and then you go to the front, which makes this way easier. And then once you get used to that, you take away the bottles and go into the pancakes again. And you will notice that you get a little bit deeper than before. Okay, before we go on, there's a little pro tip that I want to give you guys, and it has to do with your hand positions. And I realized this a while back, and it's been a game changer. Most people, when they go in these positions, they have the hands facing this way. But what is actually the correct way, in my opinion, or the better way, is to have them face in the opposite direction. Because if you do that, you will realize that your lower back becomes straight automatically, which makes for a way better stretch. So always have your hands in this position. Maybe even put them where your knees are. I remember I always found that to be very comfortable when I first started out. And then sort of like walk to the front and then eventually drop all the way down. And you will notice that when you fully got your pancakes, that's actually when you in your splits. And yeah, that is the exercise routine that I used in the beginning, and I sometimes even use to this day. If I don't know what to do or what to stretch at that day, I would still use this routine, and I still find it to be a very solid routine. I hope it helps you guys, and thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.